9 o'clock.
The Elgin Police Department is dedicated to working in partnership with the community to promote safety and enhance the quality of life by serving with professionalism, encouraging open communication, and embracing diversity.
Engaged.
Partnering with our citizens and involved in our community.
Progressive.
Embracing innovative strategies while maintaining proven practices.
Dedicated.
Serving with integrity and professionalism. Elgin became an incorporated city in 1854 and installed its first police marshal, George W. Renwick. Over the years, the title of the head law enforcement officer changed from marshal to chief. And although the role has expanded, one duty has remained consistent: to ensure law and order for the citizens of Elgin.
It's time now for Fridays with the Finest, featuring Elgin's current police chief, Anna Lalley, on Elgin's hometown radio station since 1949, WRMN AM 1410 and 96.7 FM.
And good morning, everybody. It's me, Dean Lalley here at WRMN 1410, and another exciting episode of Fridays with the Finest. We have with us today Chief Anna Lalley, of course, and we also have in studio the school district superintendent from U46, Suzanne Jensen. So go ahead, Chief. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. How are you?
I couldn't be better.
Good. So good morning. I have a guest with me today, Dr. Johnson. She's here from School District U46, to talk everything about our partnerships, things that have been going on. So, I think it's great to highlight the partnerships that we have throughout the community so that people know, because a lot of times people have questions that I necessarily can't answer or she can't answer. So, to have people see that very public display that we are in support of each other and working with each other. And we have school resource officers and we've had them. And so I thought it would be just really good to, have that conversation this morning. But before we get into that, there's just a couple things I do want to mention. So first, we had a missing person, Miguel Segura, that went missing on November 29th of 2025. His family came in and reported him missing. And earlier this week on February 17th, we responded to South Elgin to assist them, that they had a deceased subject in the river, in the Fox River, located near the dam. On February 18th, an autopsy was conducted by the Kane County Coroner's Office and positively identified Miguel Segura. So at this point, the preliminary cause of death is drowning, and toxicology results and samples were collected. It will be sent to a forensic lab for further analysis. With that, we want to extend our condolences to his family and to his friends. Additionally, thank you to the Elgin community for being involved in giving information and being engaged. That case at this point, is considered still ongoing. We have now classified it as a death investigation, and no further updates will be made available at this time. I do want to mention too, we've added on our transparency hub on the main page. You'll see an area for active missing people cases. So we obviously have our cold cases going on, but when they're active missing cases, we've enhance the transparency site to provide more information in terms of what is it that we're comfortable releasing to the public. So we did push a lot of information out about Miguel's case. That information will be archived on our transparency site. If there are any further questions, please, take a look at that for the community or reach out to us. The other thing I want to mention is, Easter is right around the corner, and we are going to be we usually do a helicopter egg drop. This year, we're not doing that. We're going to try something different this year. They're calling it a color explosion egg hunt. Basically, we will be hosting that. It will be in Festival Park on April 4th from 11 to 1. Music, egg, an Easter egg hunt, face painting, bouncy houses, tons of officers, tons of people. This event is probably one of our top 3 events that gets a lot of people there. Our Halloween event, our Easter event, and National Night Out. So looking forward to, hopefully some warmer weather, although this morning, it's a little brisk, reminding us
what a switch, huh?
It's still winter. So please follow us on Facebook, find out more information. And then lastly, I want to say congratulations. We had our annual award ceremony on Tuesday night or Wednesday night. So I want to tons of officers, tons of professional support staff getting awards. So congratulations to all of them. You know, the hard work that is conducted every day by the men and women of the Elgin Police Department. I have the honor and pleasure of seeing it firsthand. I appreciate them. You know, some of the best people that you'd want to know in life. But we do of the year awards. So these are kind of the highlights. And so just congratulations to the Explorer of the Year, Luz Sembrano. So we, you know, our explorers, we have over 30 explorers that help us. They're not paid, they're young adults that eventually want to enter into the police profession. So we honor them too as part of our agency. So congratulations, Luz. Professional Support Staff Member of the Year is Public Safety Systems Technician Joey Alderson. So everything with computers, phones, technology. Joey was also an explorer. You know, he kind of made his way through the organization. So just a great sense of humor, always pleasant, always friendly. So congratulations, Joey. Our telecommunicator of the year, our 911 dispatch center, very, very busy. A lot of things going on. That is Tyler Kalinsky. Tyler, thank you for what you do. Congratulations. He's amazing, just, you know, spot on, just does an awesome job with some of our certifications that we need to the state. So congratulations. Then we do a rookie of the year. So this is your new officer. This is
Here
your
we go.
officer. We still call them rookies. Rookie of the year, Officer Ethan Chase. So has only been on the police department for less than 2 years and has just really made a difference. And one of the standout things, you know, when I was reading my speech and, you know, gathering information from supervisors, is the way he treats the people, the community, right? It's one thing, you know, I think it's really important that the way you treat people in the community and you know, your care for their safety, for their well-being, you know, and when you have a young officer, and this is, you know, what I have been saying for many, many years, if you hire people with good heads and good hearts, eventually the magic happens. It just takes a little bit of time. So he is an example of that. So congratulations, Ethan. Officer of the Year, Detective Martin Vega. So Martin Vega used to be the school resource officer over at Larkin, recently transitioned into our major investigations division. Martin knows tons of kids. Staff from Larkin High was there to support him, which was great to see.
That's right.
He truly has made an impact in people's lives. So, you know, he worked with our Kane County State's Attorney Jamie Mosser to have a law changed based on an incident that happened with a student. Just amazing, very bright. You know, cares about the community, involved in our youth empowerment program. So, congratulations, Martin. And lastly, the Supervisor of the Year, that is Sergeant Rob Copeland. So Rob Copeland, Rob and I were hired together in March of 1996. So we went to the police academy together. So we are, you know, approaching our 30 years here at the Elgin Police Department. So we were talking about it, you know, and he remembered calls from he remembered things when we were in the academy 30 years ago. And I was
Holy
like,
cow.
how do you remember that? Right. So, but he absolutely just does a phenomenal job with our honor guard. You know, when we had the unfortunate passing of Sergeant Rich Free last year, he, you know, took the lead with our honor guard, and very emotional, very hard, very difficult thing to do. You know, you're dealing with people's emotions, and then this is a person that we actually know. So just really phenomenal job. You know, cares about the officers, cares about up and coming supervisors. So congratulations, Rob. You know, you're almost to your 30 here, so congratulations. So yeah, that was it. I want to just hit some highlights here.
Congratulations, really, to each and every one of you, Elgin's finest. And you know what? It starts from the top. If you're given the right leadership, they're going to conduct themselves the same way.
Yeah, and it's amazing too when you know, especially Rob. Like, you know, I went to the police academy with him. I mean, and then you think about all this, but it just seems like it was yesterday. Although, you know, there are days where you're like, man, this just seems like it's been going on for 100 years. You're like, what? But it's just when, you know, you're talking to, and this is one thing that I tell a lot of young officers and even supervisors. You know, we had a management meeting this week. You're never going to, very rarely, you know, you're not going to remember the kind of day-to-day nonsense that happens, that it just is what it is. It's life. But you'll remember those things where, you know, you knew because somebody took the time to tell you, you really impacted my life in a positive way. And you don't do it because of that. If they do say thank you to you, that is the gift, right?
Yeah.
but you do it every day of, how today am I going to walk into the Elgin Police Department and take care of the community and take care of the people in this building. It's been very simple for me. And, when you do hear some of the, I had and I shared this, I had a lady that called me. There was a call that I took when I was a young officer, and this call happened 25 years ago. And this lady called me. It's a pretty significant case. She called me to there eventually a person was arrested. She called me to tell me, "Hey, I remember you that day and I remember kind of like what you did." And I was like, "Wow," like, and just to tell me how her life. So now she's my age. She was my age when it happened, and now she's, in her late 70s. And she was telling me this, and I was like, "Wow," like, cuz I get, my I'll get notes on my desk, call so and so, call so and so, and it's about this. And so I'm like, "Okay." And so finally, when I called her back, and she's like, "Do you remember me?" And it was like I could remember the call. I remembered how their house looked inside. I
Wow.
remember how, I mean, it was just, but she was so gracious and so, like, I will forever remember that. I will forever remember sitting in a room with Karen Sheeper's mom, right,
Oh,
Liz,
sure.
and her telling us thank you and that story, and being able to tell her, we found your daughter. Like, I'm not gonna remember all the nonsense in between. Like, it just is what it is, right? Like, so I think that's the importance of life, is just to really think about our place in life, our place in humanity, try to do the best for everyone that we can, right? Leave something positive in the world. And so, yeah, so really a lot of good stuff happening. It's really nice when we do an award ceremony. It's just a couple hours of like nothing but good stuff,
Yeah.
right? So congratulations, everyone, to all the award winners. So yeah, today, Dr. Suzanne Johnson of District U46. So I guess I'm going to just throw it to you and just kind of, maybe an introduction,
Sure.
what you do,
Yeah.
who you are.
Try.
Yeah.
We try to do.
Yeah.
Well, so first of all, this morning, Chief, thank you so much for the invitation to get to join you. I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate the opportunity to collaborate and continue collaborating and to be here with you. I have the honor and pleasure of also serving the Elgin community. I'm a graduate of Elgin High School. I've spent all 29 years of my career working for School District U46. And so, the best way to describe it is that I work to support teachers. In U46 we have teachers, and everybody else who doesn't have that title, our role is to do everything that we can to support them so that they can do the best job they can do every single day to support our students.
How many
And
employees total are in U46? Because you're the second largest school district, right? In
we are the
state?
second largest school district, so we are just under 7,000 employees.
Holy cow.
It's a big shop that's going to shift, of course, a little bit. We do have a diminishing enrollment, and so as that enrollment continues to decline, as soon as as recent as 8 years ago, we were about 40,000 students. Today, we on any given day we're between 33.5 and like 33.7.
Wow.
And so, part of that, of course, there are a number of reasons that have impacted that. We expect that at some point we're gonna be closer to about 30,000. But right now we're also in doing some facilities work, of course, as you're well
Yep.
aware of. You've been a tremendous
Yep.
partner in helping us manage all of that as well, through the city of Elgin. But as we do that, we're retiring some buildings. In U46,
Yep.
they've been great stewards of the public financial commitment. We have some buildings that are still being used for school on a daily basis that are nearing 140 years old.
Wow.
So as those buildings retire and we bring on some new
Yeah.
ones, that will shift that a little bit and create some other opportunities for us to, of course, be a little bit more efficient. And then with that diminishing enrollment, of course, some of those numbers are going to shift.
Yeah.
When we think about our service for students.
Yeah, so one of the reasons why, Suzanne and I, talked this week a little bit about some of the protests that have been going on with this, students at the schools, and kind of, her response and my response from the police department and her response. And so we thought it would be a good opportunity just to kind of, let the community know that those conversations happen behind the scenes to ensure the safety of everyone, the students, the staff, the police officers. And one of the things that we talked about a little bit is, the police responses. We had some happen last week where 3 schools, some of the students were walking, and then the week before we had 2 schools. And so, The police have a very specific role in that, and our SROs go out there, and this is kind of the core of relationship building, but then also kind of like from your perspective, what is important to you guys and kind of what is that message that you would want a community to know?
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate that. And so first of all, I also want to highlight and emphasize that we have a long-standing
Yes.
and ongoing, collaboration and really positive working
Yep.
relationship. When you started today, just highlighting and celebrating some of certainly members of the Elgin Police Department, and you hit on Detective Vega.
Mm-hmm.
There is no like he is the benchmark, right?
Yes.
And so when we think about who our school resource officers are, and we have school resource officers like Detective Vega, first of all, what that should tell everybody is that we have people who are joining us in this effort who are so focused on doing good things for students and making sure that you're partnering with us in our strategic plan goal too, which is all about safety, sense of belonging, inclusion, really focusing on that work. And we couldn't do that without you. The relationships that you build, the connections that are built every day in our schools, that are also built outside of our schools. And so that level of trust is really essential. So certainly, locally, nationally, across the landscape, we've seen a huge uptick in student walkouts or student protests. They look a little bit different depending on where you're at. We work because of those relationships that we also have with students. Our students do a great job of notifying us in advance. Like they will actually come to administration and let us know that, we're thinking about organizing something. We're thinking about a walkout. We're thinking about some type of protest. And our focus is first and foremost always, we have to support student rights. So they do have the rights to speak, to walk, to make their voices known. But our other emphasis, and I think this is where you and I really come together on this, and we'll continue to do so, is around safety.
Yes.
Like we're still charged with student safety.
Yep.
And whether they start in our buildings, leave our buildings, stay on our property the entire time, that challenge with them once they start moving is to make sure that they are safe and that, we do the best of our abilities to eliminate those dangers that are out there that could certainly impact them as they decide to potentially at times, and they have done that in the last couple of weeks, certainly leave our property.
Yep.
And that's difficult, right? And that is where our challenges exist. As U46, throughout the course of this round of walkouts, we have opted to leave really as much school personnel as possible at school, because despite the numbers, at any given time, we still had more than half of our buildings
In school.
In
Yeah.
school.
Yep.
And so, our other focus after making sure everybody's safe is always the learning environment. So we've really opted to prioritize keeping teachers, administrators, all of our support staff as much as possible in school. So we then support it with additional administrators from our educational service center, from other buildings who might not be participating on that day. And we've walked with them. And really the reason we walk with them is to be able to provide that additional layer of supervision, to really try to minimize any other type of interaction with people or events that might be also happening in the community.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is the very real challenge. Elgin is a large city, as you have shared and share the concern. We can't control what the students are doing, and much less whatever else is happening and may come across their path. And that's a concern.
And I think the best, the good thing about, because there are a lot of questions, right? People will in the community, why does the school let the students leave? Why? And so she explained that, right? So that's I think, just to be very upfront about things that are going on so that people have the right information. They may not like it, right? That's just different. But to me, it's just very important that, when we started seeing, these kind of events happening, that, we connect with each other, and it cuts all the middle layers, right? I have sergeants, I have lieutenants, I have school resource officers, great. But ultimately, a final decision about something probably would need to come to me. So I imagine the same thing with her, right? So she has people that are in the schools, principals, deans, but for me, it's just very important to have this communication because of the fact of, last week, for example, we're dedicating a significant amount of Elgin officers to these events, which we want to keep them safe. We want to make sure that they're safe. but they have to, obviously we have to be sensitive to, we can't have criminal activity happen. We can't, and it can't turn into an unlawful assembly. It can't turn. So there's all these things that we do on our end, and the administrators are out there trying to do their best that they can. And sometimes it's never going to be enough for people, but the fact that people hear that, right, and know that, yes, the school recognizes that the school is taking these efforts. We are also taking these efforts because while I have 70 officers working on 3 schools, now all of a sudden there's calls going on in Elgin all day. I mean,
Right.
even most people think it's really busy at night. You'd be surprised. Sometimes it's busy now. People wake up and for whatever reason,
They lose their mind.
they're mad.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it just depends. But yes, can you talk a little bit, Dr. Johnson, about just, going forward with some of the, obviously it is a new it's a very unprecedented time, right?
It
When
is.
were kids walking out of schools, high schools, middle schools? What is kind of the sentiment with U46? I guess, in looking and forecasting into the
Yeah.
future, if this continues.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, and certainly we've had some opportunity to also follow up with some of our students who have been organizing and leading. Um, we have some very talented and gifted young people who I think first and foremost are trying to be really as thoughtful as they can be, are trying to figure out how they can lead and make space for their voice in this world today, and they're looking for opportunities to do that. In those follow-ups, at some sites we already have some clubs or organizations that that we're trying to now at this point redirect some of our students to. And those are civic-minded, organizations that many times are focused on trying to support community or interest in community. The main factor though is that it has to be student-driven and student-led. And I know that I've received that question
Yeah.
over the last 2
Sure.
weeks, right?
Yep.
Like, why is U46 organizing this? And we aren't.
Yes.
We aren't
And that's a
organizing
great
walkouts.
point, so
We aren't
everybody hears that.
organizing protests.
Yes.
But when the students decide if it's 500 or 600 of them that they're going to do something, then again we shift to that. How do we maintain supervision and safety? But with the students today, then it is that conversation around how else can we, support their interests and give them some other outlets or opportunities to now take that drive to do something to contribute to the community, to address an issue that they have identified that they feel strongly about, and help them do that. So whether it's ongoing education or information about the topic, in this case, the protests have all been around immigration rights. If it's also food insecurity, that is something that the community has had to grapple with this year as well. Right? How do we help get them the information they need? And then how do we help connect some different resources so that we figure out how we can support them or make it known to them how they can channel this energy into something that could have an outcome that could lead to either additional opportunities or working towards resolving the issue. Bringing forward different opportunities to address an issue across the community. And that's where we're at now. The students recognize that. So especially our high school students, I think the approach is always a little bit different when you have 17, 16-year-old students who
Yes.
are identifying
Yeah.
an issue and want to respond to it as compared to our 12 and 13-year-olds. It's a little bit different, but that is the effort at this time to work to redirect them.
Because the other thing too is, you might have some students who they're walking out because they know what's going on, right? Like they believe in the cause that they're walking out for. And then some students, they're just walking out because this sounds like a great time, right? Like it's Friday. So you have to balance those. Balance those, which we completely understand. And I think too, recognizing that this is probably going to go on for a while. This is not a short-term problem. And if it is, it is what it is. But it's no different than, the Trust Act in Illinois for the police officers, right? I recognize that this is where we're at now, politically, culturally, whatever the case may be. And so instead of just sitting there and saying, well, we can't do this, we can't do that, working with Jamie Mosser, I had her on the show to talk about some of the changes in the Trust Act that we're going to do. I think, and to Dr. Johnson's point, they're trying to do things. And I think that's important for the community to hear because, when we meet and we have these conversations, if I say that, I don't represent U46, right? So when people hear it from, she is leading 7,000 people, right? She is, the quote unquote chief of the schools, and
Right.
she is making an effort to at least, give options, redirect, have the conversations, think about safety. And it's so important that people hear that, right? So you may not like when you see kids running through a lot of people are not going to
Yeah.
like it. I mean,
No.
that's just the fact, right? However, it's not happening with, the teacher saying, let's go out there and do this. Hey, everybody, right? These are students that, and when people decide that they're going to do what they're going to do, they just do it. And then we have to respond, adjust, adapt, and shift. So, I truly appreciate the fact that those conversations are happening, that there is some redirection or attempt to redirect, because you never know. If you get the right student and, they think, all right, well, this is what we believe, and this is, it's a great lesson in civic engagement. It's a great, like, you can turn something that has turned very negative in a lot of places into something very positive or productive. I think in Elgin, we just do things sometimes a little differently. So we have a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
So what are your final
Well,
thoughts? and stuff?
I also want to tell you how much I appreciate the conversations and the feedback and the questions. I think those are really vital as well for us, as we debrief after every major event. And so as we work through this and we take a look at trying to figure out how we can do things better and always improve, part of that is to hear what the feedback is and to hear what the questions are. And to your point, we can't always do all of
Yes.
those
Yep.
things. We, of course, have to follow state law. We have to follow school code. There are some very specific guidelines there. But without that engagement and that dialogue, we also don't get that really essential feedback to improve. So I, very much appreciate all of that as well.
And, just to chime in, just to hear, I'm hearing what you're saying. And I want to make sure that the people listening are understanding you're not just setting these up. It's nice that the police department and you work together, but you are allowing the staff to stay educating the children that are in the classes. But this is a right of a student to have a demonstration and protest, obviously on the grounds. So then you get some of your extra staff that you have that could be there, because sometimes things could escalate, not necessarily by the youth that are out having this protest, but maybe somebody makes a comment. And now one's got to stand up better than the other. You know how it is when you're younger. And then it's nice that you're putting staff out there to try to detour that from happening, because the police, they can only do so much.
Absolutely. And
I think that's great
the
that you're
partnership
doing
has
that.
been outstanding.
Yeah.
One of the things that certainly the Elgin Police Department, brought to us very early was, hey, that's great that you have some of these additional people, but how about a few of the people from inside the building that do have the relationships with the students, that the students do recognize as well. And I think that has certainly made a difference. I think that's been really helpful as well.
Sure.
One of the things about adolescence, as it's been a long time, but I think we all remember this, and some of us have our own at home right now. As soon as one school, right, all it took, we have 5 high schools, five comprehensive and 1 alternative. As soon as one high school made the decision to do this, we knew it was
domino
what was
effect.
coming.
Now it's everybody's idea.
Yeah, and I think especially today we've really we've implemented some things during the school day to try to minimize student social media. At the high schools this year, phones are away during instructional periods. Students can access them during passing periods and lunch periods. Middle schools, they are in lockers or they're in yonder pouches, which has changed life radically again at middle school to try to minimize just the social media interactions and the ongoing connectivity with us between our students. But once they got out of school, it is still something that we contend with. And so I think that's always our struggle, is that we cannot compete with the speed of communication that our adolescents have access to.
And not always the right information.
Correct.
Right? And they are, and that's the other part that we have to think about too, is that when students have access to their phones, and then we see it with school threats, and all of a sudden somebody is texting, and then it turns into this because they're telling their parents, and sometimes this stuff is not actually happening. So we have to respond quickly to tap down that bad information, because that becomes a very significant threat.
And the parents don't understand why the younger kids shouldn't have their phone. As the police chief, you understand that phones ringing, if you had an active situation going on, you don't want people to have those phones ringing.
Right.
And then now that comes a different situation.
Well, and I think, I do want to put it out there that, certainly we've had some real positive parent support in this effort. First with social media and really trying to eliminate or decrease the reliance and the use of cell phones and media during the school day.
Mhm.
We can't do it without the parents. We can't do it without
Yeah.
the families, without the households. So we really appreciate that. Certainly appreciate the opportunity for us to be talking today because, again, really trying to support our parents and also having these conversations with their students and encouraging them.
Well, thank you for coming on the show.
you.
I appreciate your partnership. If anyone has any questions for her or for you guys know where to find us.
Yep.
And I will be back next week. I hope everyone has a safe weekend. It's supposed to be a little chilly, so stay inside, watch Netflix, order a pizza, and everybody relax.
Let's be safe. Let's
Let's
take
be
it down
safe.
a notch. And
Yes.
Dr. Susan Johnson from U46 Schools here with Chief Anna Lalley. We thank you both for being here. And it sounds like you guys got a great partnership working together. And we need the parents. We need you to be a part of this as well. We'll be back. You're listening to WRMN 1410 right here. Voice of the Valley, talking town.
Thank you.